Hello, the book I have for you today is called When Joe Louis Won the Title. It is by Belinda, Rochelle, and illustrated by Larry Johnson. Joe Louis sat perched on top of 10 steps, waiting for her grandfather, John Henry. That's Joe Louis. "Is that my favorite girl in the whole wide world?" he said as he strolled up the street. He leaned over and picked up Joe Louis, swung her round and round until her ponytails whirled like the propellers of a plane, swung her round and round until they were both dizzy with gasps and giggles. There's her grandpa. John Henry's brown eyes twinkled as he returned Joe Louis to the top step and sat down next to her. The smile quickly disappeared from Joe Louis's face. "Why such a sad face?" he asked. "Why do you think she might be sad?" Tomorrow was a special day for Joe Louis, the first day at a new school. "I don't want to go to school," Joe Louis said to her grandfather. "I don't want to be the new girl in a new neighborhood at a new school." Have you ever had to start at a new school? It can be a little scary. You might feel excited, but you might also feel nervous. John Henry put his arm around her and pulled her close. "Why don't you want to go to school?" he asked. "I'll probably be the shortest kid in class, or I'll be the one who can't run as fast as the other kids. And I finish every race last," she said. "It's just a matter of time before a new school's an old school. Just a matter of time before you'll be able to run really fast. And you won't always finish last," he said, patting her hand. "What's the real reason you don't want to go to a new school?" John Henry asked. She said, "Well, it's because I can't run very fast," but he knew that that wasn't the truth. He's trying to find it out. What do you think? Joe Louis shook her head. It was hard to explain. She just knew it would happen. Somebody would ask the question. It was the same question each and every time she met someone new. "What's your name?" It was that moment, that question, that made Joe Louis want to disappear. And it really wouldn't make a difference if she were taller, and it wouldn't make a difference that she could run really fast, and it wouldn't make a difference that she was the new kid in school. She just wished she didn't have to tell anyone her name. Why do you think she doesn't want to tell anyone her name? His grandfather picked her up and placed her on his knee. "Let me tell you a story," he said. "When I was just a young boy living in Mississippi, I used to dream about moving north. I wanted to find a good job in the big city, cities like Chicago or St. Louis. But everybody, I mean everybody, talked about Harlem and New York City. I would sit on the front porch and just daydream about those big city places. The way some folks told it, everything was perfect, and it was all there just waiting for me." John Henry's eyes sparkled. "When I saved enough money, I crowded onto the train with other small-town folks headed north. Everything I owned fit into a torn, tattered suitcase and a brown box wrapped in string." So when he was a young man, he moved north. "I rode the train all day and all night, like a snake winding its way across the Mississippi River. That train moved slowly through farmland and flatland, over mountains and valleys, until it reached its final destination." Joe Louis closed her eyes. She loved her grandfather's stories. His words were like wings and other things, and she listened closely until she felt she was right there with him. Some people are very good storytellers, and when you listen to them, you feel like you're really there. "New York City! New York, New York!" the conductor yelled as the train pulled into the station. He made it to New York. I wonder what he wants to do there. I headed straight to Harlem. I had never seen buildings so tall. They seemed to touch the sky. Even the moon looked different in the big city. The moonlight was bright and shining, and the stars skipped across the sky. The streets sparkled in the night sky's light. It was true. The streets did seem to be paved in gold. I walked up and down city streets that stretched wide and long. I walked past a fancy nightclub where you could hear a saxophone and a woman singing so sad, so soft, and so slow that the music made me long for home. Look, he's in a place called Harlem. It's a very special place. Lots of famous artists and authors and musicians have come out of Harlem. Then all of a sudden, the sad music changed to happy music. That saxophone and singing started to swing. Hundreds of people spilled out into the sidewalks, waving flags, scarves, handkerchiefs, and tablecloths. Hundreds of people filled the streets with noise and laughter, waving hats and anything and everything, filling the sky with bright colors of red, white, green, yellow, blue, purple, and orange. They're celebrating. What do you think they're celebrating? Everybody was clapping. Hands were raised to the sky. Up and down the street, people were shouting and singing. Cars were beeping their horns. Bells were ringing. "Excuse me," I patted a woman on the shoulder. "What's going on?" The woman smiled. She was pretty with soft brown hair and a friendly smile. "Why, haven't you heard?" she said. "Joe Louis won the title fight." "My name is Mary," she said, and she held out her hand. "And your name is?" he asked this lady. "Joe Louis won the fight." John Henry smiled and hugged Joe Louis close. "It was a special night for me," he said. "It was a special night for black people everywhere. Joe Louis was the greatest boxer in the world. He was a hero. That night he won the fight of his life, a fight that a lot of people thought he would lose. Some folks said he was too slow, and other folks said he wasn't strong enough. But he worked hard and he won. It was a special night, my first night in the big city, and Joe Louis won the fight. But it was a special night for another reason, too." Why else do you think it was special? "It was the night you met Grandma," Joe Louis said, and she started to smile. "It was a special night I'll never forget. I named your father Joe Louis to help me remember, and he named you his first child Joe Louis, too." Her grandfather tickled her nose. "That was the night you won the title. You should be very proud of your name. Every name has a special story." The next day, Joe Louis took a deep breath as she walked into her new school classroom and slipped into a seat. The boy sitting next to Joe Louis tapped her on the shoulder. "My name is Lester. What's your name?" Joe answered slowly. "My name is Joe Louis." She balled her fists and covered her eyes and braced herself. She waited for the laughter and the jokes, and she peeked out one eye, and she peeked out the other eye. "Wow, what a great name," he said, and he smiled. So she learned this special story about her name, and it made her feel better and proud to share her name. Do you know why you have your name? Who picked your name? Does it mean something special? You should ask a grown-up and see if you can find out. I liked reading the story to you. It's so important to know about names. I'll read to you later. Bye.